Astonishing, Shenzhen's housing bubble bursts. Second-hand home prices plunge 50%. Shenzhen, formerly celebrated as China's real estate golden city, is undergoing a major change. In Huarun City, located in Nanshan District on the western side of the main urban area, home prices commenced at 55,000 yuan per square meter in 2014. By 2020, the sale price of new developments have soared to an incredible 130,000 yuan. Concurrently, second-hand property prices within the community reached a staggering 180,000 yuan. At that time, new homeowners could secure a profit of 50,000 yuan per square meter if they sold their properties the day after purchasing. A 100 square meter property sold overnight could result in a windfall of 5 million yuan, equivalent to around 720,000 US dollars. During that same year, the overall increase in property prices in areas such as Shenzhen's Bao'an, Futian, Longhua, Nanshan, and Guangming exceeded 20%, with select communities witnessing a jaw-dropping 30% to 80% surge. In early 2021, Huarun City's second-hand property prices reached their peak at 190,000 yuan, or $27,000 per square meter. At that time, certain homeowners, driven by urgency, sold their properties for 170,000 yuan per square meter. The market was undeniably flourishing. In a bid to reduce second-hand property prices in Shenzhen, the city assigned 70% of the market price as a guide price for all 3,595 residential communities in 2021 and early 2022. This mandated that all banks issue loans in accordance with the guide price. The introduction of the guide price dropped the annual trading volume of Shenzhen's property market significantly. In 2020, 95,273 second-hand property transactions occurred in Shenzhen. Following the implementation of the second-hand property guide price in 2021, transaction volume dwindled to 40,699 units. In 2022, the transaction volume plummeted further to a mere 21,700 units. Property prices also experienced a steep decline. By October 2022, the transaction price dropped to a mere 99,000 yuan. In comparison to the peak in early 2021, property prices fell by a staggering 50% in just a year and a half, marking the collapse of the real estate bubble. By March this year, Shenzhen's property prices have declined by 9.5% compared to the same period last year, with the average drop in second-hand property prices reaching 17.8%. Based on actual transaction cases, price drops in some areas of Shenzhen even reached 30 to 40%. Breaking the 30% discount guide price for second-hand properties, with the largest price drop in some communities reaching 43%. The latest data released by Shenzhen Leyoujia Research Center reveals that in the first quarter, more than half of the top 10 communities with second-hand property transactions in various districts of Shenzhen had transaction prices below the guide price. A person in Shenzhen purchased a 50 square meter property for 1.7 million yuan in 2017. During the peak period in 2021, its value increased to 2.8 million yuan. However, 6 months ago, the property was listed only for 2.4 million yuan. Now the homeowner is offering the property for 2 million yuan based on the guide price, but there are no buyers. Real estate agents estimate that if the price continues to drop for a few more months, it could reach around 1.7 million yuan, well below the guide price. Faced with the transaction prices continually falling below the guide price, banks could no longer hold out. As of April 22nd, they ceased issuing loans based on the guide price for second-hand properties in Shenzhen, opting instead to assess the lower of the transaction price or guide price and issue loans accordingly. Other cities in China are also facing dire real estate market situations. In the second week of April, second-hand residential transactions across 10 key monitored cities declined across the board, with a total transaction volume of 17,566 units, a 29.38% decrease compared to the previous period. As of April 20th, the daily transaction volume of second-hand properties in Beijing reached 515 units, a 36% decline. In Changtong Bridge Community, located 50 kilometers from the city center in Beijing's eastern suburbs, property prices peaked at 30,000 yuan per square meter. After a few years, property prices in the community had dropped to half of their peak value. Similarly, in House Mountain District, 50 kilometers west of Beijing, the government had to allow non-residents to buy properties and lower the bank mortgage rates to attract buyers. As of April 23rd, only 13,110 second-hand properties were sold in Shanghai this month. Based on the sales volume in the third week of April, it is estimated that the sales for the entire month will be around 18,000 units, only 75% of last month. In the third week of April, new property transactions in 13 Chinese cities exhibited a declining trend. In Shenzhen, only 506 new properties were sold, with a decline exceeding 31.16% compared to the previous period. In the second week of April, Beijing witnessed a significant downturn in new residential transactions, with a mere 1,783 units sold, making a 19.17% decline compared to the previous month. The transaction volume in April is anticipated to be lower than that of March. Similarly, Nanjing experienced a slump in new residential transactions, with only 1,238 units sold, a 24% decrease month-over-month. Faced with the dwindling market, the Chinese government has resorted to a forceful policy, demolishing citizens' old bungalows in old districts to coerce them into purchasing new properties. Nanjing has implemented a land requisition housing voucher resettlement policy effective April 18th. Unlike previous demolition initiatives, this policy necessitates the use of housing vouchers to acquire newly constructed properties, essentially generating demand in the real estate market. This approach means the government systematically undervaluing demolished properties while developers inflate the prices of new homes. Consequently, residents are compelled to cover the price discrepancies with housing vouchers. After the house vouchers are issued to the demolished households, they are handed over to the developers when they buy the houses, and the developers then take the vouchers to the housing authority to exchange them for money. In the past, government-led demolitions entitled providing compensation, appropriating land, and subsequently selling it at inflated prices, while minimizing demolition costs. Amidst this process, gang members would terrorize farmers or urban village dwellers by shattering windows or igniting fires during the night, coercing residents to vacate hastily and accept reduced prices. Essentially, this process involves the government forcibly displacing individuals from their homes, taking down their houses to generate demand for real estate, followed by issuing housing vouchers to compel residents to cover the remaining expenses. Once the property is constructed and management commences, the local community management office stands to profit, as its employee is frequently a major shareholder in the property management company. To decrease the new property inventory, the Nanjing government has issued housing vouchers with strict stipulations. The vouchers are non-transferable, cannot be cashed or mortgaged, and are solely designated for personal and family home purchases. Furthermore, they come with a 12-month expiration, compelling the public to swiftly aid the government in alleviating the surplus of new properties. As an added incentive, a 10% bonus is granted to those who opt for suburban properties, where the need for buyers is particularly pressing due to the large inventory of new houses. Jiangxi Province's Nanshan City has also distributed housing vouchers, providing a 10% subsidy for home purchases within 3 months, an 8% subsidy for purchases within 4 to 6 months, and a 5% subsidy for purchases within 7 to 12 months, to urge home buyers to act quickly. Henan Province's Zhengzhou plans to demolish a vast area within 3 years, and numerous other cities, including Xiamen, Wuxi, Kunming, Guiyang, Wenzhou, Liuan in Anhui Province, and Chongqing, have implemented housing vouchers to counter demand and prop up the real estate market within 3 months. This is a testament to the current dwindling housing demand. In the past, during periods of economic growth, individuals were reluctant to be forcibly evicted. Presently, with the economic downturn, the government is attempting to use housing vouchers to force people to buy up the new properties. However, many lack the financial means to do so, as job hunting becomes increasingly challenging and wage cuts proliferate. Many individuals are living in poor conditions, with their lives pushed to the edge. If this persists, people may protest, leading to escalating costs for maintaining stability. The entire communist government system would then be in a precarious state. China's endeavor to decouple from the world has precipitated an inescapable drop in the real estate market. The pervasive imbalance between supply and demand and looming collapse will reverberate across ordinary citizens, banks, and local governments nationwide. Although the government has adopted certain measures to alleviate the crisis, their impact is negligible, and the collapse remains unstoppable. This impending calamity will inflict suffering and economic loss which can further exacerbate the plight of the Chinese people.